Welcome back. So today things are going to be a little bit different in that I'm going to be recording this video on my phone because I recently got a new screen recorder app. I'm hoping this will allow things to be a bit more convenient for me as far as making YouTube videos goes, and I'm hoping it doesn't hurt the audio quality too harshly. Now, on to today's topic. Today we're going to be discussing the whole liberalist thing that's been going on, which is the word for the ideological position put forward by Sargon of Akkad. It's basically, in his words, a liberal activist. He pulled the word from some other thinker a couple years back, I'm not exactly familiar with, but he's trying to take it and promote a new type of activism and expressing his desire to organize. And I think the desire to organize is a good thing, but I do think there's some problems with the way he's going about it, and we're going to try to cover that today. Alright, we're about to play the video. This is called 2018 What Can We Do? And let's see if we can identify any of the problems with what he's saying.
I received a message from a long-time subscriber regarding my debate with Richard Spencer that really changed my mind on how I'd been looking at the event. He pointed out that while it is important not to live only in the estimation of others, that wasn't an excuse for being selfish. And to his mind, that's precisely what I had been during the debate. He noted that I had responsibilities beyond myself and that I had not been taking these seriously. And I think that's a very fair point. I had not been considering the people who may feel like they rely on me, and that I am not just a content creator, but a representative of something larger than myself, and should have been mindful of that at the time. And by all accounts, this is probably true. I am certainly being treated as the figurehead of something, even if nobody can define it and our enemies would describe it as skeptic community. I've never liked this label, firstly because it represents only a reaction to something else, and secondly because it means we are allowing our enemies to define us. However, having a large group of independent-minded individualists agree on a label that will encompass a specific set of core beliefs is difficult. Frankly, I don't know what to choose. I'm not worried about how the enemies of liberalism will view it, or what they'll try to do with it, but I am concerned that we have been resting on our laurels for far too long, and we need to start organizing. The iron law of activism is that while you do nothing, nothing will change.
That's actually a pretty useful tautology. If you do nothing, nothing will get done. Or at least, by you anyways. Let's go ahead and continue watching, but I agree with the desire to organize. I believe that if you're going to promote a position, then you should do it actively.
Highly organized, well-funded, and deeply entrenched power structure of the extreme left will continue to subsume the institutions of our countries within its ideological sphere of influence. I am so sick and tired of people saying, well, ragging on bedroom feminists is so passé. Well, yes, which is why people don't do it. But I don't know whether anyone is paying attention, but the far left is making power grab after power grab, consuming more and more of our once liberal free societies and subjugating them to their dogmatic racial and gendered planning. While SJWs rack up victory after victory, we cannot even decide on a label. My concerned subscriber is right. I had not been taking this seriously, but there are serious consequences for everyone, and we must start pushing back as a united front with a way to identify one another and assert a powerful set of values, which I believe should be centered upon the individual, their rights, and respect for their personal agency. In my estimation, this is the spirit of liberalism, and is what is needed for the individual and the wider society in which they exist to thrive. We must.
Okay. I want to say I agree with what he's just said there, but he's going to need to justify his position. And we're going to look through a couple videos and see if he offers any justification for his beliefs, or whether they are just his own dogma. And, I mean, it may be good dogma, it may be correct dogma, but dogma is still something that's unreliable. It's not going to be it's not what you're going to try to base any type of society on. It's not going to be, what you need to base your ideology around. Basing an ideology around dogma is going to lead to the exact same problems, well, any ideology based around dogma has.
Must positively assert this, and not just on the internet. As we learned in 2017, doing almost anything in real life is far more effective than doing it on the internet, even if it's something as simple as sitting in an audience. If we want to see a future in which people are not oppressed because of their race, gender, sexuality, or lack thereof, then we cannot wait passively as the forces of social justice advance and enround us. To this end, I will do a tactical analysis of the current state of the war against intersectionality and its oppressive goal of remaking the West along collectivist lines so we can see the full scope of the problem, and I shall create a modest organisation around which we can focus our efforts. I will be performing more live events and attending various conferences and conventions around the world, and I will notify you in advance, so if you wish to join me, the opportunity will be available to you. And to those who felt I did not do my duty, you are correct, and I apologise. I did not take the situation seriously, and I allowed a foolish blunder to take place, but this will not happen again. You have my word. To identify ourselves, I recommend we choose a label and stick with it. If someone who promotes feminism is a feminist, and someone who promotes socialism is a socialist, and someone who promotes Islamism is an Islamist, and someone who promotes fascism is a fascist, then someone who promotes liberalism must be a liberalist. I say that we use this label until it's dead or we find something better.
Okay, a person that promotes feminism is a feminist, socialism, socialist, and all that. But the thing is that the word really doesn't matter because, of course, everyone who holds an ideology believes that their ideology is correct. So when a person says that they are a liberal, they're actively promoting liberalism. I mean, that's what the word has meant. Now, why not just use that? Because people already know what the word liberal means, or at least they should, because that's the way they've been using it. In the exact same way you're going to be using the word liberalist. So why choose liberalist over liberal? Well, even though you kind of deny this in a later video, or not really deny it, I mean, you admit that it's part of it, but you say that there's other stuff to it. I think that the main reason why it should matter is that the word liberal has been bastardized over the last couple of centuries. I actually cover this in my video on the left versus the right, and as far as their meaning goes. And the meaning is kind of ever shifting. I mean, there is no concrete principle behind liberal, and you try to give principles for liberalist, but you're really going to need to have a reason why the definition is going to be as you define liberalist. If you don't have good reasons behind your positions, if your philosophy isn't well founded, then the word liberalist, or the term you're using to describe yourself, is going to be just as bastardized as liberal has been over the past 200 years, or more even. So, getting a good meaning behind your position is going to be very key, and from the principles I think you've laid out principles that I agree with, but they seem very dogmatic because you've given no justification for it. So that's my key issue with your liberalist thing. Now, we'll see what we can do from here. Here, I've brought up the page for the liberalist principles that he is promoting. Yeah, let's go ahead and read through it. This is a statement of principles. It's a list of the values that liberalists hold as ideals. We also recognize that we live in the real world and no set of principles can ever be fully realized, but promoting this worldview will produce a demonstrably better society than current alternatives. I kind of fucked up reading that right there. But, alright, individual rights. Protecting the rights of the individual must be the highest value of society. To foster mutual tolerance and respect towards the cultivation of the dignity of every person. Okay, well, that's well and good and all, but you're going to need to define what rights are, and not only what is a right, but what that encompasses. What are each of our individual rights? So, I mean, you kind of go through here listing all these principles, and some of them you may think are rights, but you haven't given a definition of rights, and that's going to be really detrimental to your position. So let's go through here. Democracy. Constitutional democracy is the best way for a free citizenry to maintain a state and resist tyranny. Okay, that's a position. Why do you hold it? I mean, it seems like a lot of this is kind of begging the question. I mean, any ideology, anything you're promoting forward as a good. I mean, it's all coming down to a moral question, and if you can't say, you're not even saying why democracy is necessarily better than not having a democracy. Okay, well, why is it good to resist tyranny? I mean, you need to define all these things out. I mean, of course, some of it seems kind of obvious, but if you haven't found a way of, you need to bridge the is ought in order to have your ideology stand on any type of firm ground, and if you don't bridge that is ought gap and, to show why things ought to be the way you're promoting them, or the way you're advocating for, then your argument and your ideology is just going to fall flat. And that's going to be consistent even with the rest of your principles. Economic freedom. It's another thing I kind of agree with. Property rights that begin with personal self-ownership and private property create the most productive societies. Okay, that's good, but, what do you mean by productive? And, I mean, is a society where, everyone that's alive is rich, but, every couple of years half the population is sacrificed? Is that productive? Like, how are you defining your terms? I understand that it's a bit of a ridiculous thing to say right there, but all of your terms need to be better defined, and you're trying to cite this sort of empirical thing from your perspective. It's like, oh, look at the United States, or look at all these different capitalist societies, or whatever. And I'm actually a proponent of capitalism, but you're trying to say that look at how productive they are. This economic freedom is just the best thing for society, and you don't justify that in any way. And freedom of speech, freedom of expression is necessary and fundamental pillar of a free society. Well, oh, okay. Why? Self-reliance, blind justice, secularism, all these seem like they could be very good things, but you're going to need a way to justify your positions, or you're going to need to list out why these are things we should want. If you don't have any reasoning behind it, if it's just this dogma that you believe, then it's really no better than any other position, even the far left that you criticize so much. I mean, I like to criticize them just as much because they don't have any justification for their positions either. But if you're trying to be better than them, then be better than them. I guess that's the main point of this video here. I don't know. What do you guys out there think? Do you think that this liberalist thing is a good thing? I mean, I think the desire to organize is a good thing, but I don't think it's being done in the correct way. I believe that there's a lot of fundamental questions that are being ignored, and until they're answered, this is just going to be another flippant ideology, which is going to be subject to the whims of whoever manages to take control of this institution that's being formed. Hmm. If I've made a mistake, some of you let me know in comments down below, or make a response video. I'm always open to criticisms. I want this channel to be a form of knowledge, of course, and your participation really helps that along. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. That's going to be it for today. I'm signing off.